we talked about spring jumping, right? So the spring jump, you land on the floor and crouch, release crouch, and then jump within a frame of each other. It's a very difficult technique. It takes time to get consistent. There's a easier method, slightly easier. It's called the scoreboard spring jump. The big thing about it is it's consistent, right? Do you know how to scoreboard spring jump?
I've seen people doing it, but I don't know how to do it.
You don't know how to do it. Okay, so let's learn how to do it right now. Basically, the way the scoreboard works in this game is any input that you're holding down before you hold scoreboard stays down. So what I want you to do is hold crouch and then hold scoreboard. And then while you're holding scoreboard, release crouch. And you'll notice that you're still crouching. Even though you've released crouch, as long as you keep that scoreboard up, you're still crouching, right? And you can even move around and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the scoreboard in this game will hold any input that you have in place before the scoreboard. It'll hold it until you release the scoreboard. So like once you let go of scoreboard, it frame perfectly releases your crouch. So the way the spring jump works is you want to jump and crouch, and then hold scoreboard, and then you want to release crouch, and then release the scoreboard. So basically you're jumping, holding jump and crouch, holding scoreboard, and then keeping jump held down. You want to let go of crouch, and then let go of scoreboard, and you'll spring jump. So you never let go of jump the whole time. Hold jump and crouch, hold scoreboard, release crouch, and then release scoreboard, and you'll spring jump. If you can master that, you can hit consistent spring jumps, and you can go for really challenging spring jumps like over here, where I can get into this little wall like that, and then go out backwards, spring jump and clamber up, right? And I use the scoreboard for this one, because then I don't have to worry about timing. I don't have to worry about timing my spring jump. Normally I do this pretty easily, but like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wait, you got
I never can do a spring jump. This is
Oh, you
really
figured out how the
sick.
scoreboard one works?
Okay. No, I don't know. Trust me, I'm learning a lot.
That's good.
So, release this and no, wait, just here,
Yeah, hold.
here, and here. No.
Wait, what are you trying? So hold jump and crouch, and then hold the scoreboard, and release crouch, and then release scoreboard. If you're trying to do
So
this
jump, crouch.
yeah, so
No, don't worry.
okay. I think you did it. I think you did it. Yeah, let's go. Good stuff. That's it. That's it right there. Good.
See?
Okay. So if you can
amazing.
master that, then you can do this. Like that.
Wait, what?
So basically what I'm doing is I'm landing, spring jumping, stabilizing, and then catching. So I don't normally use scoreboard for this. I just do it the normal way. But like that. So you spring jump, stabilize, and hold crouch, and you can clamber up. And you have to do it out of your movement. So like I'm kind of I'm walking forward, and I have momentum forward. And then it kind of allows me to hit that. Really useful.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, really useful.
that's called the spring jump stabilize is what it's called basically. So I'm spring jumping, and I'm combining the height from the stabilize and the crouch. That, and then I clamber
Alex,
up.
do you have a Elite controller or a SCUF controller?
So I have something called a cinch controller. It's similar to a SCUF or Elite controller. It has, I can show it on my POV. It has 4 buttons on the bottom. They're tiny little paddle buttons, and they allow me to hit the face buttons more easily. I don't have to ever take my right thumb off the right stick. The thing about Halo 5 is, especially because of the stabilizing is very difficult to do quickly in this game without either clawing your controller or using some form of controller with paddles like Elite or SCUF or Cinch. You can do it, it's just, yeah, it's tough to do. That's kind of the one downfall of Halo 5 is you would have to learn how to claw or get a different peripheral to hit all the techniques like really consistently and quickly. It's just a challenging game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the spring jump stabilize. There's also something called the spring thrust. The spring thrust is the highest altitude jump you can do from a standstill in the game. You're combining the spring jump and the thrust together. So it's basically going to give you, a similar height to the super jump, to this technique, but you're doing it out of a standstill. You want to land on the floor, And the instant after you spring jump, thrust. And you get a really high arcing thrust. This is a super useful technique. It'll get me from bottom mid to top mid instantly. It'll, yeah, it'll do a lot for you. And then ideally, you want to combine that with a stabilize and hold crouch. So a lot of buttons are being hit here. I'm spring jumping, thrusting, stabilizing, holding crouch, and then clambering up. Using jump to clamber. You trying to do it? That looked like it right there. Yeah.
The only problem is press the scoreboard button,
Yeah.
the jump, and the crouch.
Pressing scoreboard is kind of a pain. There are a couple ways that you can do it. You can also claw your right index finger over to the scoreboard. The pro player Bound, what he does is he plays on bumper jumper, and he claws his right index finger over to the scoreboard to hit scoreboard spring jumps. Yeah, that's one way.
Okay.
I use my right thumb to hit the scoreboard, and it works for me on bumper jumper. For you, because you have to press A and left stick. Let me see. I'm going to change my controls. Recon. Yeah, for you, you probably want to claw your right index finger over to the scoreboard. So you have
Yeah,
to
my
hold...
thumb is on the A button and my index on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, is it left index or right index?
Right
Probably
index.
Yeah, right index.
is
That
on the
makes sense.
scoreboard.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that would be the way to do it. Now, the difficulty after that is then thrusting immediately after. How do you thrust on this? Oh, it's left bumper. Oh, that's not so bad. That's not
Left
so bad.
index. Yeah.
Okay, so you can do it instantly. Yeah. And then
Yep.
and then you would have to figure out how to stabilize after. So you would have to... Oh my god.
With the X button.
You'd have to click.
Press.
You'd basically have to let go of scoreboard, click right stick, and then click X. Hit X like immediately after you hit right stick. So that's like a lot of shit you're doing. This is why I play bumper jumper. Bumper jumper, in my opinion, is the best control scheme for movement in this game. I think. But you can make an argument for pretty much any scheme, but I think bumper jumper is the best. Just for movement.
Now for every Halo, bumper jumper is the best.
Pretty much, honestly. Like, if you're on the fence, if you're just starting Halo right now, I would recommend just switching to bumper jumper and getting used to it and going with that. There's also Hell Jumper. Hell Jumper is the same as bumper jumper, except you can use your left trigger to aim down sights. So if you hate aiming with the right stick, you can always use Hell Jumper. That's helpful too. But yeah, so we got spring jumping, spring thrusting. There's tons of ways to use spring jumps in this game. Like, the entire map is a playground. Because of spring jumping, I can get up there, I can land on the floor, and I can spring thrust, and I can do a lot. Do you guys know about ramp slides? Have you heard of ramp slides?
I've heard about
I
it,
see.
and I've done
I see a video.
the ramp slide on Coliseum with the flag, but I don't have a master in that technique or how to do it on the right way.
Right, so I can teach that. Basically, every ramp in this game has kind of like sweet spots on it. Kind of hard to explain, but like right around here, it's different for every ramp, but basically near the top of the ramp, there's like an invisible sweet spot where if I hit the slide button at that spot, I'm gonna launch downwards really quickly. And if you hit it too, so if I try to slide too early, I'll go nowhere. Let's go down here and see if... I use this one a lot to get to the van. You don't have to hit it perfectly, but kind of looks like that. So I can use... that's not quite it either. Basically, somewhere around here. And if I hit the timing perfectly, I will launch forward. If I hit the timing too early, then I won't go anywhere. What I call it is getting crippled. So, like, if I try to slide, like, right at the very top of the ramp, what'll happen is you hear this noise and you like don't go anywhere, like that. Like on my POV, yeah, you guys can grab my POV maybe. But basically, I call that getting crippled or tripping. I call it tripping. My bad. So it's like you kind of like trip. You don't go anywhere. That means that you slid too early. If you slide too late, then you'll just get like a normal slide. If you hit that perfect time slide, then you'll get a boost forward. That wasn't the greatest, but it works really well. It depends on the ramp. And what we can do is we can jump around on different ramps, and I can show it again. But even this version of the slide is still very useful if you don't hit it perfectly. What's more obvious, like what's a more obvious launch, is something called drop sliding. So if you guys, you can stand on top mid or stand on cafe ramp. Go over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop slide to the hotel ledge. Like that. So
Okay.
what I just did was land on this ramp and slide the instant that I hit it. And drop sliding is a very, very useful technique that people don't really use yet, and it's going to become very important very soon. People are already starting to use it, but basically what I'm doing is I'm sprinting forward, and I'm holding sprint in the air, and the moment I make contact with the ramp, preferably the bottom of the ramp, like so somewhere around here, you want to hit the steepest part of the ramp. So kind of, it's usually near the bottom of the ramp, and the instant I touch it, I need to slide. So, Jesus, spring jump, please. So I would sprint, and then keep sprint held forward, and time a slide the instant I make contact with the ramp, and jump.
10 seconds to sniper rifle.
One thing to note is, if I sprint forward and I hold crouch, I'm just going to land on the ramp and crouch, right? So,
Snipers up.
like, basically what happens is, if I'm holding crouch, I'm no longer in the sprint animation anymore. So I'm just going to land on the ramp and crouch and go nowhere. So you have to make sure that you sprint and fall and touch the ramp, and the moment you touch the ramp, then you hit crouch, so that you can slide immediately. The faster that you can hit crouch out of touching the ramp, the faster the slide, basically. The faster the result. So give it a shot. Go up to S4. Tempted to shoot the barrel. What you have to do is, here, let's get rid of that. So what I do is I stand, like, back here, and I sprint and wrap around, and then fall, and slide myself over. So...
you sprint again when you are in the air?
yes, you want to keep your sprint maintained forward in the air, and then hit crouch the moment you make contact with the ramp. So you're never stopping the sprint until you slide, basically.
Okay.
So you gotta like land, you gotta precisely land on the ramp at a sprint, and then slide when you hit the ramp. Yeah!
Okay.
Sick, right? How
Got
cool
it.
is that? Now,
That's amazing, that launch.
now that works on every ramp in the game. You just have to find the right way to sweet spot a ramp. So for example, come here. This ramp I can use it on too. So if I sprint off this arm and then I land and slide, I can launch myself into the loop. And the better that you hit the slide, the better the launch, right? So ideally, you want like a frame perfect slide. But yeah, so you got to get creative with it, right? You got to find areas on maps where you can use this. And you want to try to pinpoint, like land, right near the bottom. I consider this to be a sweet spot as well, just like the top sweet spot. Near the bottom. I'm trying to hit near the bottom of the ramp. Land, fall, and then you got to precisely hit slide. The issue with going for something like this is it's very risky, right? Like, sprinting across this arm is very out in the open, right? Like, if I'm sprinting like this and somebody's on big door, they're just going to shoot me for free, or top yellow. Like, you got to pick a really good time to use it. So it's all, like, risk versus reward. I can use it over here too, like I can land on this ramp, fly over here. I can even like, oops. I can technically even like fall off this way and turn and slide. Like, and then I just have to, kind of like that. The more speed you have while falling, the better the result. So here even as well, right? I can land on this guy. Oops. You got to really make sure that you don't press crouch too early. If I press crouch before making contact with the floor, then I'm going to go nowhere. I'll just land and crouch. Kind of like that. So something I was trying to do with this one is you can land, slide, stabilize, and then grab this clamber ledge, and then do something like that. Or you can fall, slide, and just launch yourself into the corner, and then hide in the corner, depending on a situation, right? So a lot of really creative, interesting stuff you can do with drop slides. Very, very useful technique. Have you guys ever heard of the super slide from back in like 2016?
Yeah, it used to work on the ramps, right?
Yes, exactly, yeah. So there was a trick when Halo 5 first came out where you would like thrust and time a slide and you would like launch down a ramp. This is the closest that we can get to super sliding in Halo, is using this special new technique. So
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So this technique
That's
is
similar.
Yeah, so this technique is a drop slide, but it's a thrust-propelled drop slide. So remember how I said the more speed you have coming into your drop slide, the farther you launch? So it's just taking that concept and giving you like a ton of speed. So what I'm doing is I'm sprinting, jumping, and thrusting, and I'm timing my thrust so that I bank my head off of this pole, like that, right? And by thrusting and banking my head off the pole, and usually I go for this spot specifically, biological, so I go usually for here. You can hit any part of this pole, but I find this is the best spot. I don't know why, it just seems to be give the best result. So you sprint, jump, thrust the instant before you make contact, so you fly downwards really, really fast. And then what you have to do, and this part's kind of hard, is you have to, in midair, you have to reactivate sprint by pressing sprint in midair, and then you have to slide the instant you make contact with the floor, like a regular drop slide. But what makes this tough is during the thrust, you have to reactivate sprint by pressing sprint and then frame perfectly timing a slide when you hit the floor. And if you do it right, you'll fly across the entire map. You can make it all the way to garbage truck. Oh, did you just do it?
No. Yeah.
Let's go. There you go. Yeah.
That's
So
where you'll do it.
yeah, so you have to sprint, jump, thrust, and bank your head, and then reactivate sprint in midair and slide when you hit the floor. And it's a crazy launch, honestly. This is probably the farthest launch in the game. And there's a lot of different ways you can modify it. Like, you can, if you hit it properly, you can spring jump, stabilize the light post. You can spring jump, grab this. You can just grab garbage truck. You can go to top mid. There's so many different ways to use it. Oops, what the hell? But yeah, of course, it's very risky. It's all about timing and the right situation, right? Like, one time I used it to break nest.
We're halfway to victory.
Threw a nade and broke the nest stronghold. Just using it, so it's pretty cool.